All right, here we have the project specifications for project number 5, typography medium as message. You'll want to refer to the lecture notes for all the specific details. We will get into some of the requirements in a minute. Okay, so let's click on the lecture notes and specifications. You'll find all videos and everything that you need in the project resources online. You'll click on project 5, and then you will click on the project sheet, and you'll get the project sheet here. And then of course you will also have the specifications here and all of the lectures and technical demos and case studies, everything, you'll find that here. So let's look at the class website with the lecture notes. Sequence 1, you're only going to be using type. Okay, no images, no graphics, no nothing, just plain old type. You're going to be using the text from either quote 1 or quote 2, which you'll find in the sample quotes. We talked about that a little bit. And alternatively, you may use a quote of your choice. Again, refer to the requirements in the sample quotes for specifics on what to do to select your sample quote. We'll be using only Helvetica or Arial, and you'll be starting with a regular weight. Okay, no bold, no light, no nothing, just regular weight. You're going to have options for black, white, gray, transparency, blends only, no color. Okay, super important, no color. We'll get to that in sequence 2. Your desktop specs. If you're on the desktop, you'll be doing an 800 by 800 pixel artboard, and you're going to be putting a 1 pixel black border, which is 600 by 600, and centered inside of that. So basically you're going to have a 50 pixel border around the outside edge with that 1 pixel line to delineate your space. And the reason I like to do that is because it's nice to see the composition with the frame around it. It makes the type look a lot cleaner and also helps a little bit more with the communication. Okay, if you're on a desktop, your font size will start out at 18 point. You'll be flush left. Your position is in the upper left of the page, 20 pixels from the left and 20 pixels from the top. Okay, if you're on a laptop, you got a smaller screen, so you get a smaller artboard, 550 by 550 artboard. Again, a 1 pixel black border, 400 by 400, centered inside of that. Your font size will be 12 point because your format is smaller. Again, flush left, your position is upper left corner of the page, and your 15 pixels left and top margin. Okay, so to get started with this, you're going to start with your text set as is. In other words, however your quote is lined out, you're going to put it in your specified size, and you're going to put it in the upper left corner. You can, at this point, break the sentence down into, you can break the message down into individual sentences if you'd like. That's a good place to start. Your options as you begin through step 2 are, actually all of your options for all of your steps are letter, word, and line spacing. In other words, you can space letters apart, you can space the words apart, and you can space the lines apart. Letter, word, and line breaks. You can break the letters anywhere you want, so even the letters in a given word don't have to stay on the same baseline. You can break words apart any way you want, and you can break lines any way you want. You have font size. Okay, you're unlimited in terms of your font sizes. You're unlimited in terms of your styles, italic, oblique, expanded, those kinds of things. And you also are unlimited in your weight. So however many weight options you have with that typeface, bold, light, extra bold, black, whatever, you have those options as well. You can change the value of any of the words and or letters. You can play with overlap. If you have overlap, you can play with transparency, and you can also use blends if you have an overlap situation. From step 3 to step 4, you're going to be using the amount of change from step 1 to step 2 as a gauge, as a guide. So whatever you did in step 2, that's about the amount of change that you want to have for step 3, and then again for step 4. And actually all the way through. Now, if you're saving incrementally, you're not necessarily going to be going for a 10-step sequence. So let's talk a little bit about that for a moment. So if we jump over to the specifications on the project sheet, we can go down and we can see that we have some requirements. In sequence 1, you're going to be creating an initial 15 to 20 step sequence. You're going to be refining that into a 10-step sequence, and then you're going to be refining that again into 5 final steps where we are going to really tighten up the layouts. So the first 15 to 20 step sequence is really just working on it. You're going to just be pushing it and pushing and pushing it and saving along the way. And the reason I want you to just not think about a 10-step sequence at the beginning is because I don't care how many steps there are at first. It's better to have too many and to edit it down to the 10 most smooth than it is to try to shoot for 10 and get everything right in that first 10-step sequence. So just save along the way and don't think about how many you're doing. Just save. If it's a small change and you feel like it's a big change or whatever, save it along the way. Okay? We'll then take that 15 to 20 step sequence, and this is what it's going to look like. We're going to start out with something like this, where this person did 16 in a sequence and then edit it down to 10. Now, you can see that they picked the first one as the first step and then skipped step 2 and went right to step 3 and then to 4, skipped 5 and went to 6, 7, and 8, skipped 9 and 10, and so on. So this is how you create a smooth sequence. You just look at the ones where, oh, it's too big of a jump or it's too small of a jump or whatever, and then you can just pull those out and you don't need them anymore. It's much easier to do that than to try to shoot for 10 steps right out of the gate. Okay, and then we will finally edit that down to 5 final steps, like I said, and we'll tighten all those up using alignment and proximity and really kind of make them look really cool. As well, we're going to be creating a final PDF document, and I'll talk more about that in the specs for sequence 2 because we'll be closer to the end. You'll be saving everything as a JPEG. Okay, and again, I'll cover all of this detail stuff in the sequence 2 specifications. You will then be posting your final 5 sequences 1 and 2 on the class website. You'll be making a separate album. You'll be writing a design reflection statement, and you'll be critiquing 3 of your students' work, 3 of your fellow classmates' work. And again, I'll cover this in a little more detail in the next project specifications. You'll be scored on your sequence strengths. You'll be scored on your overall development, creativity. There's a variety of ways that you can, do this, and some of them are, more creative than others. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And of course, the overall design, just the effect. Is it really cool, or does it look sloppy and messy, or whatever? Okay. You'll be checking the due dates, and those due dates will be covered in detail as these individual reviews come due, and I will be discussing these and notifying you with event notifications as these days get closer. Okay, and then online resources, we talked about that. All your lectures. If you're not sure about typography and how to work with the tools, there's a lecture for that. Right here, there's a lecture on effective typography and, of course, case studies. So all of the information you need in a visual format will be found in videos on the online resources. Okay, so that is essentially the specifications for sequence 1. Have some fun.